Because it's not about me just getting the resume. They might think, I don't know if I want Axonify to talk to me. I'm not sure I want to dedicate my time to them. So that's where our careers page is so important to highlight that. And yes, of course, we want to put our job postings on there. Yes, we want to also indicate maybe some awards that we've won so that people can understand, well, maybe that award is important to me, maybe that award is not important to me. But we do identify what personas do we need to share. Some companies might identify the actual personas online. We've chosen to not do that yet. We're not really at the size and stage that would make sense, but I've actually seen some companies build out like a whole wall like this, and they'll actually have a full body shot of like this cartoon-esque character that'll say, meet Sales Steve. This is the type of persona we would love in our company, and here's what Steve looks like. Oh boy. And then so you got all their team's personas literally in their front reception. That's pretty elaborate, and it works really well for them, not for us. So we just write based on how we know our personas are going to align in our job postings, and that's what we do with the careers page. And we're constantly updating it. One of the things that I have heard quite a bit from some marketing companies is your career site is basically like a billboard that you put in your garage if you do nothing with your career site. It's like, build it, then you can put it in the garage and close the door. No one's going to know the career site is there if someone doesn't know the company exists. So how do they know to look at it if it's just online in the abyss, you call it? So in order to be able to gravitate people to you, that's where that attraction piece comes in, that proactive. But then also saying, okay, well, I'm going to share some extra stuff on social media. So we have a conscious effort to do Instagram from a careers perspective, just to share some of the culture and some of the values and some of the things that happen inside Axonify. Way more popular than we expected, because people just want to know, what would it be like if I actually walked in every day at 8:30, 9 a.m.? What would I expect outside of the actual work I would do? What's it like there? So that's where social media comes in handy for us. We intentionally aren't using the other platforms as much because our platform targets a lot of our key customer prospects on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Twitter right now. So right now we have an intentional focus just to stay here, but we will be blowing that up quite a bit later this year. And then of course, reviews. We know people want to see reviews in Glassdoor. We have no control over what goes on it, so this is why it's actually really great. It's kind of scary and daunting, because when we first got into Glassdoor about 2.5 years ago, we were doing that, oh gosh, do we turn this on? What are people going to say about it? So we thought, just do it, because it's one of those things, just have to pull the Band-Aid off and just let's see what they have to say. And so that's one of the things with Glassdoor. Has anybody visited Glassdoor before? Does anybody know? If you don't know what Glassdoor is, just let me know. Okay. So Glassdoor is a website that allows individuals to rank or rate a company based on their experience. So as an employer, what you'll find is if someone was an employee there, they'll say, this is what it's like to be an employee here. And it's literally a ranking out of 5 stars to 1 star. And it's nice, and it could be a tell-all book for all they want. If they want to write a novel, they can write one paragraph saying, here's a pro of working at the company, here's a con about working at the company, and here's what I think of the CEO. And it's anonymous. That's the #1 takeaway, and that's why it's so popular, is it's anonymous. So you're like, I don't know who said that. But it's one of those things where it's out there in the public. So anybody who is talking to me in talent acquisition, 9 times out of 10, when I say, what questions do you have? I'll be like, oh, so I was reading your Glassdoor, and I'd like to know if this is true or not. And okay, let's talk about that. So we are absolutely transparent, which allows us the opportunity to really showcase transparency when we're not the ones putting the messaging on that website. It could be current employees, it could be previous employees that have either departed the company voluntarily or involuntarily. We don't know. But that's what Glassdoor is all about. Now, there's also an opportunity for Glassdoor to expand employer branding, which is one really cool thing about Glassdoor, is to say, well, now that you're on the site, do you want to get to know more about the company? So it's almost like a value add to a careers page, because it's an external site. And we don't spend the money or any money to advertise Glassdoor. Glassdoor doesn't spend the money to advertise Glassdoor, to get people to come to Glassdoor and add more content, which are the reviews. So these are some of the things that we focus on from an attraction perspective, just to say we're going to be transparent and
just want to comment on the Glassdoor. So if you choose to go on there, and part part of your strategy should be around, should you respond to reviews? Like, what is your position on that? We chose not to. We really want to focus on the programs internally and let our employees be the brand ambassadors so that they can project outwardly their experiences. And so we know, positive or negative, just Brooke said, people have their opinions and they're welcome to put their experiences online, but we really want to focus our energies, internally, making sure that's a great place to work. So that's our perspective. That may change, but for now, that's something that we're deliberate in terms of our response on that.
And so anybody who's doing those 4 buckets all together, this is an easy checklist. Do you have a careers page, even if it's a light careers page, have some little bit of information about what it's like if you're looking to capture employees or candidates to become employees of your company. You want to write something down. If you want to have something on social media, yes. If you're not ready for that yet, just know that does take some time. So if you're not ready for that time dedication, then that's okay. That can come later. But if you haven't heard of Glassdoor and you have ever hired employees or interviewed employees, because there's also a section for rating interviews, go check out Glassdoor and Google your company name in the search bar and see what it has to say. Oh, sorry, this is John.
Yeah, so I have a question and a comment too. So I advise job seekers, so I'm actually on Glassdoor quite a bit. And the comment is that Glassdoor is, take it with a grain of salt, and that's the advice that I give to job seekers all the time. And you can tell when a comment is on the up and up and when it's not, because it's ranty and it's, you can tell, okay, this is someone who's disgruntled and they're not. So I tell people, look at Glassdoor, but look at maybe the ones that are a coherent sentence. And see what they have to say and kind of discard some of those. And I think that's kind of the pulse for people who are job seeking when they're looking at Glassdoor. And the question was, so does your Glassdoor strategy kind of encompass like an exit strategy, or are they kind of linked together in terms of if you have perhaps an employee who's leaving on very good terms, do you ask them, hey, would you mind putting something on Glassdoor? Or when people are leaving on maybe less than ideal terms, do you have ways that you mitigate that in terms of how they leave that would influence maybe that area? Or?
We go ahead.
Yeah, great question. We have a zero strategy for intentional asks of Glassdoor of any kind. When we first literally turned that switch on to Glassdoor, we said, okay, we're on Glassdoor. So if you don't turn the switch on, your name can't be found, which means if they typed in Axonify, it's like, company not found. So when we first brought it on there 2.5 years ago, all we did was we made a mention at one of our team lunches saying, hey, we're on Glassdoor now. If anybody's interested in adding a review, our team lunches means the whole company is in the room at the same time. We're sharing company updates. Oh, and by the way, this is what our people and culture team has done. If you want to go online and add a review, go for it. If not, that's up to you. And so we got a few, but everything ever since then has been completely organic, whatever they want to do themselves.
And that's kind of what we want. We really want employees to feel like they share their experiences authentically is really important to us. Yes.
So, as an overview, if you're a company and hypothetically you feel like you don't want to turn that on, is that a bigger issue? So do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that that's our company or whatever, but is that a way to tell yourself, okay, if you don't want people to be able to see what people are saying about you, is it something that you should be changing internally? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Is it?
If you're worried about people are going to say about you externally, and then you're thinking, I don't know how I'm going to back that up or change it, then that means you have a question to ask yourself.
Because I think there is a lot of anxiety turning that button on.
Oh yeah,
like you said,
there is.
So you kind of have to be able to make that step and say, I don't have something.
But you would when we get into the engagement, is understand the pulse of your teams or your organization. So maybe first start internally. What are employees saying about working at a particular company? Whether that be through engagement meetings or just through one-on-ones. Your leaders have a lot of influence, ability to understand and hear and collect some feedback. So maybe first gather what's the value that employees perceive to be working at X company, and then, sorry, Adam, did you have a?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, if environment is so toxic that you're worried about what people are saying about you online, those people can find a way to say it anyway. They'll go on to Google reviews.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just think, so for instance, one of the really, I don't know, we've all probably dealt with this for sure, either on Facebook or on different forums,
Yeah.
is the bias of that people who are pissed are more likely to go to a site than
Yes.
people who are happy,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yes.
it's hard to be able to gauge that, like, okay, are my employees so happy that they will go and do that? Because if they're just happy and then you have one negative experience, it could look
Let
like
me give you an example actually, just to
Yeah.
add some context. So I was doing, I'm always in constant sales recruitment mode because sales individuals, the pipeline is like a year in length from a recruitment perspective. So if anybody's on the hunt for salespeople, you better start now and even over a year from now. Anyways, we had one review that came in their Glassdoor and we knew it was an employee that unfortunately departed involuntarily. And the review is on Glassdoor. You're more than welcome to go check it out if you'd like. It was from a couple years ago. And I was continually interviewing candidates and someone brought up saying, yeah, I saw that review on Glassdoor. And this was a sales candidate for the exact same department that I was recruiting for. And I said, yeah, what do you got? What's the question you have about it? Happy to answer. I'm like, well, once I read it, I know what's important to me and what I'm looking for in a career. And once I read that, I realized that it didn't really mean anything to me because what they were ranting about wasn't important to me anyways. Great, it answered itself, right? So it's, that person wasn't necessarily the right fit. Whatever they were ranting about wasn't necessarily aligned with the right fit. And so the right fit was on the phone and away we go. So sometimes it can work itself out anyways. But sometimes, yeah, you just have to think about what that looks like from a connection perspective.
I think that's a really good point because every single employee is in Glasgow to become, company before that they apply. So they see what the company does and they see what they like and what they don't like. But I also like the way you guys respond. You guys don't try to confrontation. You just let people just stay there, let always read, like everything else.
Yeah, so we focus our energies on internal ed and Brooke and the team are on these, and so we wanted our Instagram page, if you follow us, are just accurate reflections of what we're doing internally. So we hope that is the impression that we're getting. So I think we just covered basically these three buckets of focusing on.
So we definitely talked about the virtual reputation online. I'm going to kind of work backwards to your community reputation and what the community is saying about you. Sometimes that's going to be hard to know if you're not participating in the community. So if you know that you want to be at a place where candidates could be mingling, where it's not feeling so recruity, find events that are more social. There's lots of things on that cool app or platform called Meetup. Meetup.com. There's a lot of variety of different places and areas that you can communicate with individuals, but it's not like, hey, I'm Brooke, a recruiter, let's go talk about your resume. It's, hey, what do you want to do next in your career? And I don't know if I'm the right fit for you, but let's have a chat, right? The internal reputation, I have to say, is one of the most important things as you grow your business. 30% in 2020 of our new hires are coming from referrals internally. And that has increased significantly from 3 years ago when I first started. 3 years when I first started, it was still great, we're at around 15%. But as we continue to build momentum, a great culture, a great environment internally, naturally people want to refer great people. No one's going to refer someone that isn't great, right? Because that means their name's probably attached to it. So when you think about internal reputation, who your employees think you are truly is their reality. Perception is reality. I don't know if you've ever heard that before. So if they show up to work every day, they have engaging people that they're working with, if they show up every day and they have an impact that they can make on their work, if they show up every day and they like the people that they're working with, they're going to say, hey, friend, on Friday, Saturday, you should come and apply it at where I work. It's really cool, and I actually could work with you. You wouldn't irritate me by the time I get to 5 o'clock, which is another interesting ask. So that's a really important pulse to understand is, what do people think of you today? Not what you think they think of you. It's what they think of you. Has anybody heard of the term employee value proposition, or EVP? Yeah? So an EVP is basically the messaging that comes from the employee base boiled down to one specific sentence that could really truly resonate with what it is that company's all about. It is not about what the company thinks the employees think, so it doesn't start at the executive level and they're sitting there going, what would look good on the website? Let's write this. It's, what's the employee base saying, good or bad? And then let's boil it down to a specific sentence. And we did a lot of homework on that. It's not easy, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun work because as long as you're talking to people that'll be honest with you, you're gonna get some really good intel. And then you might need to work internally, you might need to leverage someone externally, say, help me figure out what this all means to one sentence, because you're taking, well in our case, we took over 100 employees' feedback and boiled that down. And our EVP now, we just finally finished this in November, which might answer some of your culture question. Our EVP is no egos, just impact, achieve more here. That's it.
Yeah.
And so we were actually kind of taking like, oh, people think there's no egos here. I knew this, but it's nice to know that the whole employee base said that. So when you think about internal reputation, that's a great place to even just start asking the question, what do you like about us and what keeps you here?
Exactly, I was just going to say,
Just
what brought you to this company, what excites you about coming to work every day, what is most joyful, and what do you dislike, what are your challenges? Like, you can just have it as a coffee chat, and from there you start to get grassroots responses that you can then hone into, well, okay, so that's the value prop that they see. So whether it be a great product or leadership or making an impact, these are words or items that perhaps will come up with your employee group that you can start with. So really easy to do is just starting to have some key questions and then start having conversations with employees.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
So now, you might as well go to the next slide. Because now we're obviously at the point where we've done lots of attraction. We don't know about what types of roles we have available. What we do know is we need people in the marketplace to know who we are, and that's what the attraction phase is all about. The recruitment phase is now when a hiring manager comes to me and says, okay, my budget's approved, I need you to find me this person. And it's usually the magic wand ask is what I call it. It's all the things under the sun that's like the perfect unicorn that you'll never find under the rainbow. Please find me this person. So we always joke around, we're like, we are not the people that just sit there, post it online, and this is my strategy. Come on, come on in. So when we're talking about that one slide prior, we have referrals, we have candidates coming in. My philosophy is the more relationships you build, the easier recruitment gets. It's taken a long time to get there, because when you get really busy and you're doing all those 4 buckets, you're thinking, I don't have time to build and have constant, conversations just to build relationships.
You're saying the right things at the right time. Because that's exactly how we do. Most of our sales are based on referrals or relationship building.
That's it.
And it's huge. We believe that 70% of our sales are strictly based on referrals.
Yeah.
Did you know that I have a sales background?
Well, if you look at just marketing and partner marketing, they parallel. Like Brooke said, the buyer journey and candidate journey are very similar, right? You're creating a product awareness, candidate awareness. Like you bring them down the funnel, and you get out to events that project what you want to be able to say about your company or your product. So it's very much that way.
Yeah. So when we ask for referrals, so I have one team member that works with me, and we both have, it's a hard lift, but we say, whenever we get a referral, we talk to them. Whether or not we look at their resume and we say, we have nothing that would fit this person's skill set, we absolutely talk to them. Why? Because they were referred by someone that we love already that's inside our company. So that conversation might be a 15-minute coffee chat, it might be a 50-minute virtual chat. Whatever it is, it gets to the heart of why are we on the phone today? What's got you interested in wanting to have a conversation with me? And then I need to take away something to learn how to build a relationship for the next step. The other side of the coin that we haven't talked about yet, when we're talking about, don't post and hope, be deliberate. I am not a master of all the things. I can't be. None of us can be. So we need to lean on the team or the hiring manager that needs this individual in their team to help us. So when we sit down with a plan. So this will help thinking about what you talked about earlier. That's your name, right? Okay. They have to be on the journey with us. Because if I'm not working alongside them, then I just end up becoming what do they call it? An order taker? I'm not an order taker. I'm not the one where they say, Brooke, we need to go find this, and I go, yes, I will go find that, and I come back and go, I found this. It's, Brooke, I need to find this, and I'm like, okay, great, what kind of persona does that look like? Like, those questions go back to the hiring manager. Great, and where would you be if I wanted to hire you? Great, okay, and what kind of events are you going to and your team's going to? Great. Then you build out an actual plan. And that plan has them involved in the process. So when I do something online, or when I go to an event, they come with me, or someone in their team comes with me, because I'm not a dev or a software developer. And let me tell you right now, software developers are not that interested in talking to me. They want to talk to another developer, or they want to talk to the VP of development, or they want to talk to someone. So I'll go and do I'm like the moral support. I'm like, don't worry, I'll be the cheerleader, but you're going to go do the things. You're going to go help them understand a little bit more why it's cool to code at Axonify. I could say what you tell me to say, but they're going to go, right, do you even know what that means? Yeah, kind of. But can I do it? No, I can't. So you have to actually walk the talk with the humans that can actually do the walking. And building that plan together is really going to help do that. So even though it might be a half hour at the onset of the first time they say, here's a job posting, put it online, Brooke, what's my messaging statement, I got to put it on the careers site, and I say, great, give me another 20 minutes. We need to talk about these things so I can go away and actually do the work, find the events, find the places that I need to play at, the sandboxes, if you will, whether that be digitally online or face-to-face, or go back into my conversations that I've built with the network that I've been talking to. Because they might not be the right fit, but I might say, hey, I got this neat role. I know this doesn't really align with you. Who do you know? It's just like sales. And when I tell you, they're going to refer great people. Or they might say, I don't know, but I think you should talk to this person because that person might know. So that's how, when you're being deliberate, there is a plan.
Yeah, our leaders are very active in terms of being out in the community because they're in spaces that like-minded or similar skilled candidates would be, so they're very much involved in that, whether the meetups or peer groups or even industry associations. So like for us it's HRPAO, but there may be very specific certifications or industry associations that it's part of your company that your leaders are part of, that where a natural candidate pool might be. So it's always encouraging them to get out and be active as well.
Okay. So, in between that slide and this slide is the whole interview process. We kind of bypass that a little bit. If you guys want us to dive into that, we can. But the interview process truly is, it could be 2-stage interviews, 3-stage interviews. We can kind of go through that a little bit if anybody has any questions about that, but I didn't hear that being brought up. But I will say, you have to make it meaningful. You have to understand the why of the position. Like we're all told as candidates, know your why. Know why you're showing up and you're meeting this customer or why you're meeting this company that you want to work at. Why is it important? Not just I need a job and I need a paycheck. Yes, those are table stakes. We know that. But we now need to say, what's our why as a company? We know that people don't want to come work with us because if we had a position that was just to show up, put a widget here and leave, well, if that's the why, and that's the why, you're going to sell that. But we need to help them understand, well, what's the impact that they're making? What's the role that they're going to be playing in the organization? And that's what we now need to do our homework on as an employer. That's very important to know because me as a recruiter, if I don't know the answer to that, when they ask me that, guess what they do? Shouldn't be doing homework.
So is that part of the change then, like 5-10 years ago, that probably wasn't as important in terms of like
Not as important.
being in an employer's market, and now that it's changing, that's more and more
Yep.
important, is that?
The employer market 20 years ago, I would say the questions I got back then were, when does it start? What's the pay rate? Do I have the job? What's going to make me the best fit for the role? Now it's, why is Axonify great? And why should I be interested in coming to you? And what are some of the impact I can make in that role? And who would I be reporting to? What are they like? What's the culture like? Very different approach. They're interviewing us.
Yes.
More than we're interviewing, well, we're interviewing them too, but it's a very collaborative approach.
Yeah.
Whether we like to believe it or not. And if you're not allowing them to ask you loads of questions, at least giving them at least 20 minutes of that interview for an hour, to let them ask you questions, then now you've sold them out on why they should consider you, because they're probably thinking, they didn't give me time to ask them anything. Are they now hiding something? Right? It's
There's
perception.
more options that they have than.
Yeah, they have a lot of options, right?
Yeah.
Again, there was these answers elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be open and transparent. Yeah.
So yeah, talking about the interview process, making it meaningful, but the pre-boarding piece, so we're at the point now where we've gotten the offer out, they love us, we love them, they've signed the offer, now we gotta wait for the start date. Then it's like this. you're gonna roll ourselves and drop her off, or what do we do now? These are the things that we do. We do them. Touch points. It's the same thing as in sales. It's like a drip campaign in marketing. They say 10 touches to say a yes. Well, even once you've hired, guess what happens in the buyer journey? I'm sure everybody in this room has done this before. You buy something that you finally have done so much homework on. You get it, you own it, it's ready. You can't open the box yet, but now what do? I wonder if I could get the same deal elsewhere. I'm just gonna look online. And then you start looking elsewhere, you've already purchased it, just to make sure you made the right decision. If anybody hasn't done that before, I'd like you to start paying attention, because I bet you have. Doesn't matter if it's something small or something big. It's the same thing, whether we like to actually consciously realize that we're doing it or not, which is why you want to keep us top of mind. Hey, heads up, we're still thinking of you, looking forward to your start date. Hey, heads up, here's your new leader, he's looking forward to you starting. Oh, we've ordered your technology, this is what you're going to be receiving on your first day. And then have everything ready to rock for them on their first day. And then you're also checking in with the hiring leaders. Hey, just remember, you have a new hire starting soon, don't forget about them. Let's logistically make sure that they're going to have a great experience when they start. That's all that one's about.
Any questions about this one? The importance of pre-onboarding?
So this is where my journey ends and Andrea's journey begins. So this is where they walk in the door on their first day of work. It's like, okay, they're here. They've made it here on their first day of work, and now it's where some of our people and culture team members on the other side of talent acquisition then say, okay, now it's time to make sure that our candidate is now toggled to a new hire. So that new hire journey now begins.
Yeah. So using the book analogy, and we're picking it up on, is you have a compelling first page, you've introduced key characters, you've set the context. They are now excited with the book, they made the right purchase decision. Similar with the candidates, their first few weeks is key to ensuring that they have made the right purchasing decision in terms of their employment opportunity. So this is where I said at the beginning, positive onboarding is key to the retention of your new hire within your organization. So you got to make sure you pay attention to how they're doing and how they're progressing through that onboarding phase. So for us at Axonify, we bucket our onboarding into 3 kind of phases. The first one's quite known to most companies. You have a corporate onboarding. This is where they understand the company's mission, how are they going to win in the market, or what their services are providing, what are the values that are important, what are the associated behaviors that align up to those values. So our values are be bold, collaborate, get it done, and we talk through how is that important to Axonify achieving our business strategy. And we outline some of the behaviors that go with that. So that's really standard. We also have new hire talks. So this is where over a 6-week period, all new hires go as a cohort and have an opportunity to meet with all the senior leaders in the organization to hear about their functional area, how are their functional strategic direction lines up with Axonify's overall mission. So that's part of the onboarding process as well. And we really truly want to make them feel at home. So the first week, yes, they get the corporate onboarding on day 1. We regroup with them on Friday. If we do a Monday onboarding, we regroup with them on Friday. We then tailor the benefits orientation. And so they don't get all information on the first day because it is like a fire hose. They're nervous, they're overwhelmed. So we try to do, again, ease them into the information overload that they get. So, and then we do a check-in on Friday. How was that first week? Did you have any questions with your equipment? Do you have any questions with your forms? We do a pre-onboarding where all the forms are done electronically ahead of time instead of first day. So again, we try to minimize the paperwork on the first day. So through our HRIS, we have Bamboo HR, which is a really small, good for small organizations if they want to get away from paper process of employee files. It's a really great tool, and so through that they have an onboarding process that helps them ease them in and highlights who their team is. They show pictures of their leader and their team members ahead of time. So it's just a way we help with the first day jitters. So that's your typical corporate, and I'm sure that you are embodying some sort of process within your organization. The second phase for us is really important is the team role onboarding. So although they may have had seen your job posting and read it, it's still really important as leaders to go over the expectations of the role. So again, a job posting may have a subset of what a more detailed job description may look like. So it's really important, like as I indicated, go through what their role is, how their role impacts the greater team and department direction. And this is where I always use the analogy of crawl, walk, run. So, as we always say, the first 3 months, they're still orienting themselves to the role. They may really feel nervous at this point because they know you hired them. They were hired for a certain role, but they got to really understand the team norms, the company way of doing things. So this is where I always try to say to leaders, set expectations with them and kind of ease their fear of having an impact from day one. So it's like they'll take 3 months to get oriented, depending on the complexity of the role, and probably by 6 months they're feeling pretty confident and comfortable in their role. So I always try to outline that. And that plays into the final stage where your leaders have the biggest impact in terms of the success of the candidates onboarding or the new hires onboarding is that continuous feedback model. So just don't after 2 weeks of onboarding, it's okay, I'm done. It's constant one-on-ones with the new hires or with all employees to say, how are you doing? What obstacles are you finding that you're encountering in your first few weeks? How can I clear that up? Or what information or questions you have? So it's really important to touch base throughout this process. The people and culture team, we do a 30-day and 90-day check-ins with them. So we just meet one-on-one with all new hires to say, again, ask those similar questions. And sometimes they're a bit more honest because they may not want to share initially maybe their concerns with their leaders. And we're able to help mitigate or advocate if they feel that we are the voice that they want us to take that conversation forward. We can help maneuver that. But those are some things that we do. And then as well, the final thing is you want to be able to evaluate the effectiveness of your program. So this is, again, you can do this whether through a survey or through conversation. So those are some things that we do is just make sure that we're constantly tweaking to ensure that the ramp-up period is done in a way that enables a quick ability to get productive.
I'm just gonna speak that for a
Yeah.
second, because it sounds like we have a lot of money. We don't.
We don't.
So surveys
Very
would be like
creative.
Survey Monkey,
Survey
free. The
Yeah.
HRIS we have, truly, it
Yes.
just allows us the ability to have our employees in some type of system. But we rely a lot on things like Google Calendars. Just get in there, make sure you have your one-on-ones. Once they start with you, we actually will lock in literally remembering all these dates. We've got lots of little systems that, yes, it sounds like we've got all these fancy bells and whistles. We just know what we need to do in our heads, and we figure out what's the platform that's free that can use it for us to do that if it's free, right?
Yeah.
One thing I want to answer your question about the how to provide autonomy with a micromanager. We do talk about it in a couple more slides, but I think that it's going to lend itself to this bucket right here.
Oh,
I'll
do you
say
want to
that.
go back?
If you go
Yeah.
just to right here, Patty, I think you talked a little bit about that. They one-on-one with a leader. One of the things that we actually have in our company that it was a newer philosophy for the smaller tech spaces, but not new from the huge enterprise spaces. And Andrea can speak way more to this than I can because she helped me understand why it's important for Axonify. Is instead of just having an HR person that has the little almost like a wicket, come to me when you have a problem, and if you don't go away, we have what's called business partners, and the business partners are there to support the business. So whatever the business needs, the business partner can actually have the one-on-ones with the leader, but they can also have one-on-ones with the employees. So when you're thinking about autonomy and the employees that work with the micromanager, it's not like the employee would be going to tattle, but it's well, how can I come up with strategies as an employee to work with that manager? And then that micromanager can then also work with that HR business partner to say, okay, I don't want my employees to think that I'm stressing them out beyond repair. Or hopefully they have some self-awareness around that. And really having some of those guided conversations, but in a meaningful way that doesn't just come like a top-down. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah, no, I would just say it's clarity of, sometimes with the micromanager, it's, they feel like they need to know everything and all the information, so it's finding a way that allows them to have that without feeling like they're stressing their employees out. So that could be like daily stand-ups, or maybe they have to have a clear understanding of the role itself. So if they understand, okay, this is what the employee does cover, okay, I'm feeling comfortable that they will get through the things that the role says. So perhaps there's information gaps that need to be met. And I know our team employees, most of the teams internally employ daily stand-ups or weekly stand-ups to kind of articulate what the teams are working on for the week, and that may satisfy that particular manager.
Quick question.
Yes?
Have you had employees that never have a question?
Never have a question?
Yeah. And you keep going through the training, and you never have a question, you never have a question, 3 days, 6 days, you never have a question. And just let me know, because I have had employees like that, and they keep making mistakes, but they don't have a question for you.
They keep making mistakes?
Yeah, they keep making mistakes, they don't have a question for you to address, but you see mistakes upon mistakes.
Right, I guess we probably all have had that. I would have that. I think it's maybe just a conversation with the individual and be framed in a way. Help me to understand what is or what we can do to enable or address this particular area of information that you seem to not be able to solve for. But I think it's just allowing them the space. Maybe it's trust. Perhaps the environment doesn't enable the raising of the hand, say, I just don't know this area. Maybe it's culturally, because we have that as well, where certain cultures that the perception of not being perfect may be something that's hard for the individual to accept. So again, we just create a space where employees and the leader, which has the most important ability to address that and say, like, hey, I've noticed this, help me to understand what's going on, like how can we redirect this, or what information do you need, and the active positive questions, ability to approach that. So the other way we do that is AMAs. So we do Ask Me Anything with Carol and the executive teams, where at our bi-monthly lunches, where we have Google Link, or Survey Monkey, where they can ask any questions. So maybe that's a safe forum that they feel we use. And Carol asks anything from what her favorite hot dog is to pizza, or anything about the business direction. So that's something perhaps you could introduce in to draw out some of those questions that they feel like they're not feeling comfortable
I
asking.
can share one more thing, because
Yeah.
I love where you just went with that, but I had an employee once that would they'd come with nothing, and then they would leave with everything. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, I just told you everything. And so I finally had to say, like, the next question was, like, the next time I had a meeting was, there were 2 questions. One, why aren't you asking me any questions? And they might say, well, because I know I have to do fine, whatever, you get through that. But then I would say, okay, every time you come to this meeting, which is maybe it's weekly, maybe it's every 2 weeks, I would say, expect me to ask this question. What's the one thing you hope that I don't ask you today? Because it's probably fear-based. They might not be talking.
Yeah.
And then usually that kind of lets a couple of barriers in. We don't talk about my quota. Well, why? It's hard, and I'm not getting it. Right, and then also you get some vulnerability,
Yeah.
but if you don't ask some of those questions, you're just maybe not asking a different subset to get them thinking differently. Try something different.
Yeah, it's like comes back to your culture of that trust and vulnerability. Do you enable people to make mistakes or fail? I use the acronym FAIL as first attempt in learning, right? So it's like, do they feel comfortable with that leader to be able to say, like, I don't know, right? So I think it's just getting an understanding of what the culture is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, just mindful of our time. I will go through the bigger chunks. So this is, we're in it, you're in it, you have a new hire. We've touched on a lot of things around engagement, but this is where you continuously must pay attention to your employee experience. And we know a couple things to be true over time that have a strong correlation to engagement. And that is, as I mentioned, trust, collaborations, having a work environment where they have the ability to work with others so they're not by themselves. Values and purpose, so that's where what is the company's overall values and purpose within the community or the larger organization. Personal development, that's a really hot topic today in HR. Employees want to be continuously building upon their skills, and so that's an area that a company, and you don't need a lot of dollars. Again, we don't have a lot of dollars as well. We are
Answer's number 2.
we're very thoughtful to say, where do we invest in employees' we say own their development path, and so we invite them to be participants in that journey and raise their hand and say, well, this is where I want to develop this year. And oftentimes it's just in the job or working cross-functionally in a different department, so you can be creative in terms of how you meet that personal development. And authentic communication, so those things that, speak to some of the principles that you yourselves can employ in terms of the overall engagement that has a strong correlation. Okay. And this is where we just touched on a couple things. Recognition, we do at Axonify, it's one of our pillars that we do in terms of our engagement. So we celebrate corporate values where the individuals demonstrate the behaviors that are really important to us. So get it done, collaborate, be bold. So be bold is around, that growth mindset, asking questions, a new way of doing things. Perhaps they did make a mistake and learn from it. So these are things that we have leaders and other employees recognize at team lunches, or if they would prefer not to have a public recognition, we do this through cards. So we have our values and action cards, and so individuals can write a note. And then we have our poker chips. So poker chips are things that are important to our culture in terms of where you may have seen other companies do Lego, build the Lego blocks of individuals achieving certain milestones. For us, our poker chips, because we are very much a competitive, spirited company in terms of playing games. Our platform is game-based as well, if you're familiar with Axonify. So we have poker chips of get it done, collaborate, be bold, and so part of the card, as well as the recognition, you're able to achieve that. In terms of belonging, this is like where Brooke had mentioned in the very beginning, all along we want to make sure that individuals understand their role and how it aligns up to the overall corporate vision. Do they also have a sense of belonging within the team? How are they settling in? So this is a big factor in terms of driving engagement. Do they have a friend at work? And I know this is a question that we did through, through an engagement survey. We kind of borrowed or Axonified some of the Gallup questions or any type of engagement survey question. You can make your own. And one of the questions was, do you have a true friend at work? And we got a lot of laughter over that, like, oh, I don't, like, what do you mean by friend? But the reality is it creates a sense of belonging. We're with employees, with their colleagues more, 8 hours a day or some sort. And if they're in isolation, you can bet that this is not attributed to a really positive work experience. So that's a really big one. Impact and autonomy go to the job design as well, the freedom for them to be creative in their role. So I won't touch too much on that. That's very important. Flexibility, where possible. I know this may not be true with all work environments, whether you come from manufacturing or call center, but where possible, and this is where you can involve the employee and the leader, how much flexibility can they be afforded in their role? Again, we all know we have lives outside of work, and they may have different schedules, whether it's childcare, elder care. So where can we together invite flexibility into the job design or the way the day is structured? So that's something that I would suggest working with the leaders of the organization if that's something that you can do. We do have a flexible work environment. We have some core hours, so we allow employees at either end to be able to flex their day, whether they're a morning person or they would prefer to work later in the evening. But that fits with our environment. But again, I would encourage you to see what works for you. And development is very important. Inspiring growth and create opportunities for them to be able to grow themselves, because then you are investing in them, and that allows them to see a potential career path internally within your organization. So that speaks to the retention factor, because you are investing in them, and then that will hopefully prevent them from seeking other opportunities that will look where they are getting other companies that are investing in them. Another thing I want to focus on is, which are table stakes, is your overall pay and your benefit offerings. So again, what's within your affordability? Look at what your benefits and your pay positioning is relative to the market. Are you competitive to your industry? Have you done some survey analysis to know how you pay? And then these are things that you can evolve over time, but certainly it's important to get a snapshot of how you guys are, how your organization would look at some of these table stakes. There's lots of free data out there as well. If you're part of Community Tech, there is a survey that they collect data that's at a a low cost to be able to get some local data in terms of some benchmarking that you want to do. So it's a so I just didn't want to reflect that. It's not a bullet point on here, but because it's something that's very much table stakes. And these are the things that are your engagement drivers that you can really flux and change in terms of getting an overall retention. I think I kind of covered. Let me just make sure I covered all everything here. Yeah, so this is where I want to dive just into development as a hot topic right now, particularly with the millennial group. They look for jobs where they are getting invested in. So it's all about what's in it for me and how is the company looking to grow their career path. I was talking to a couple individuals earlier at the beginning. Some of our roles, our junior sales roles, we really have to work to invest in them to get them to 12 months retention, and that's the norm in the tech industry. Is they are quickly wanting to feel like they're moving and growing within their career. So we look to show that we give them their onboarding, that they're training in their role, mentoring with senior leaders. So it's really understanding that this is a hot topic that you guys need to we all need to pay attention to. So I want to ask the question, how does your culture, your organization support development? What are some ways that you guys are investing in employees? Yeah.
Well, I'm a recruiter and I'm a millennial, so I at least get to relate. So it's a lot easier for me to, like a lot of this stuff I kind of do naturally, actually just because I'm like, put myself in their shoes, I've been in their shoes, okay, I know how you feel, like I do weekly goal sets of like, how can we make this way better for you, how can we, I know you're struggling at this, it doesn't matter that you're struggling, it matters like, okay, how do we prevent that from happening, how can I excel you, and then literally asking them what they want, what do you want, what does that look like, and if I can give it to you, I will.
Right.
And that's how we do it.
Yeah, we do foundational programming, so back to the values of people collaborate, get it done. So being part of being bold is asking the ability to ask the right questions, having courageous conversations, collaborate is, we do DISC, so that's, you may have heard of that potential, it's a personality style of how you show up at work and your natural tendencies, so that we do that to ensure that everyone knows about themselves, but also it drives an awareness of others, and so that's part of our core programming. And then anything job specific, that's where we ask the employee and the leader to really flesh out what's important for their role, to be able to feel that they are progressing for either in role or next level role readiness. How does feedback play in your organizations? Where does that way of giving development feedback, is that something that's on a regular basis, done all the time, or ad hoc, or on that annual cycle? There's no right or wrong here. It's something we all can evolve. Yeah.
We have what we call roadmaps.
Okay.
So every quarter, you sit down, with your team lead, and even the co-founders will sit down with you, and you set out your goals that you want to achieve through the quarter. And then after that quarter takes place, you sit down and you make sure that you're on the right track. Is there anything we can do to help you achieve these goals? Why did you achieve these goals?
Awesome.
And we congratulate them on achieving these goals.
That's really great. Yeah, it's that feedback model that's really important. And you may have all read where they said the annual review is dead, and I think it's not saying it's dead. It's just you can evolve it to whatever the right frequency works for your organization, because employees really, we all want to know how we're doing, and that feedback is part of that retention piece, because you get them forward looking. So in your sense is part of the conversation, yes, it's backwards, but it's really about, well, what has to be true for you to love it here? What has to be true for you to say this is the best place to work? Like, and then you can shift it to be a forward-looking conversation, and in terms of development as well in terms of progression within the role, because we're all here to do a job, so you still have to get them to focus in terms of how they're doing. But it's a great way of doing that. So the frequency of feedback, you can scale it, and you start with something, but just what makes sense for you and your leaders, because your leaders are the key drivers of this. So are they equipped to be able to give feedback? So that's the other part of our leadership programming, is how do leaders give feedback? The piece that everyone struggles with is the emotional part of the feedback, so that's a key that we look at when we have our leadership programming. I think anything else? Yes, I think that's kind of covered that. Okay, so getting to wrap up, I just will pass over what we've covered.
So,
Did I miss it?
no, you can read all these. I'm not gonna read all of them because we kind of touched on all these, but I think that all these sum up to one very important thing. Is your place somewhere that people would want to work?
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself that in the silence of your own mind. And if you're not sure if the answer is yes, then you have to kind of stop, figure out why. But if it is, then figure out that why, bottle it up, and share it with the world. That's going to be what's most important when you're thinking about attracting and recruiting talent. Because knowing the why is going to be the most important thing for candidates to help them understand who you are and what you have to offer, so that you can get some awesome stuff done.
And it goes hand in hand with these. So being able to externally market who you are, you gotta know who you are internally. So this is where, what is your culture? Do a pulse check, right? What are employees saying? What are your retention rates? This is your turnover. Are you losing your top talent or key critical roles and why? What rewards does your critical talent value? And so then this is where you can then, knowing the answers to those, you can evolve your engagement strategy. So I always get you that crawl, walk, run. You can't do everything today. You're just going to piece out what's most important. Obviously, you need to get people into your organization so you can get either your service or your product out. And so start with, who's my critical talent that I need to attract? What's most valuable to them? And internally, what my employees are saying. So they should hopefully align. As well, we've talked on development. That's a really key area that's very important because you want to invest in the long term. And then, your leadership development as well, because as I mentioned throughout, they're the face of helping you get long-term retention with your employees. Because we have to say, you join a company, you leave a manager, and that's very true. So you want to be able to ensure your leaders are equipped to be able to have one-on-one conversations, to be able to understand the pulse of the employees, to be able to help them with their development path. So we do put a lot of onus on the leader because they still have their day job. So it's important that we equip them to be successful as well. So what story are you going to tell? We're wrapping it up. So obviously you can see we're passionate about culture and employee experience. At Axonify, hopefully shared a bit of nuggets with you today that we've learned along the way. My favorite saying is, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Obviously, you may have heard that, and it's very true. I said earlier, everyone can replicate your products and services, but your culture is your differentiator. And if you need to, use a way to present to your executives the ROI that on this, that it's just not nice to have. This is where you can pull in your data points, your retention, your engagement scores, even your Glassdoor reviews if you're on there. So if there's consistent themes, you're able to show that here, these are what's being said, here's the data points. There is a true ROI we invest in our culture and employee experience. So in sum, just hopefully you guys learned a little bit today about us, about this topic, and if there's any questions, we have time, I think for about 10 minutes or so, is that right, Hannah? Okay. Yes?
Just a quick question for you. I know you talked about things that have changed in the way employees and employers are looking for, but in terms of the recruiting, the first phase in the interview, like what kind of questions have changed as opposed to, I know back in the days, the questions, but these days, what kind of questions are you asking?
Still asking the same questions from the onset. Like, you need to learn about them. So the 5 things I've always been taught, what makes someone a most placeable candidate, right? What is called a most placeable candidate, meaning are they actually going to be the right fit for now? And that's obviously skill alignment, their salary alignment, and if we can afford them and if they fit into our budget, their personality fit and their culture fit, like are they the right human forget about the skill set, but, you know, are they hardwired at the same things that are important to them as the values that cross collaborates with ours? Is it the right timing? Are they able to actually start at the time that we need them to start? Like they say, yeah, they're awesome, but I'm gonna be backpacking for the next year. Oh, well, they're not the right candidate for me right now then. And the fifth one truly is about, what's the fifth one? There's 5.
Why do you want to work here?
Very,
Yeah.
yeah, we do.
So those questions I still need to get, right? But knowing that candidate still needs to get those now for me, whereas 20 years ago they didn't. So they need to know, okay, what's our culture like? What's the role? What's the impact role? Who am I reporting to? So it literally feels like you're getting 50 questions. You know, when you say, so what kind of questions do you have for me? It's never just a, when can I start? It's all the other things. Which is why if a recruiter does not have the understanding from the hiring team beforehand about why is this role available, what's the impact of this role, is this job description written properly, is it accurate? Because that's my name on the line. If I share with them a role and they show up on their first day and like, this is not it at all what I expected it to be, I've just been undersold. That's the question change that's going to happen. But the questions, it's just more questions that can't. I'm still asking the same questions. We still need to learn about who they are. Does that help?
Yep.
And in all honesty, if I can take it a step further because maybe that'll help you. The first onset of questions, yes, there's an interview with me. But then what we do is then the next interview is me and hiring manager. But then there's a third stage. And yes, we realize it's long, but we do it on purpose because then there's a team interview plus our business partner from the HR team also is inclusive on that. And the reason for that is because we know that yes, we need this person, we need to have a consensus that this person can fit with us, but now we need this person to meet individuals that they're gonna work with on a daily basis because we know that they're interviewing us. Whether they say it or not, we know they are. So we need them to understand, oh wow, okay, so it's not just one nice person. Oh wow, there's 2 people that are nice. Oh, when's the shoe gonna drop, right? Like it's, oh wow, everybody actually are experts in their field. I can ask them questions, we can collaborate, but it's more conversational for interviewing now. That's one of the things that's changed from 20 years ago. Interviews 20 years ago, it was like, tight suit, you sit there, you're nervous, you're worried. Now it's like, we're in jeans. It's nothing really, you could be sitting in the town hall or in our lunchroom rather than a meeting room. Like we kind of switch it up just to kind of, it's more, that's how you get to know someone better. And, you know, truth be told, it's kind of like dating. Your first date, you're on your best behavior. Second date, you're still on your pretty good behavior. Third date, you're like, oh, there you are. There's the real you. And so when you do a collaborative approach, that's kind of what you're looking for. But by the time you do the third interview, it's more personality questions. It's not skill fit anymore. You've already assessed that. Right?
Yeah, I was going to pipe in on that. One of the things that I came across is, and there's a lot of evidence suggesting that, is a person's capacity to be successful in any position is all largely geared to their emotional intelligence. So there's a lot more interest now in interviewing people for emotional intelligence because that's going to be the largest determining factor in terms of that person's success in life generally. So, and there's a good book, when I write this down, Adele Lynn, Interviewing for Emotional Intelligence. She gives you questions, she describes what emotional intelligence is, the skills you're looking for, et cetera, and so forth. So that's a piece that I see increasingly. People are really interviewing for this other aspect of the individual.
And also factors into,
Specifically.
absolutely, even internally, a lot of organizations focus on, I call them durable skills, but as opposed to the word soft skill that I like for durable, it's all around that emotional intelligence. That's the key. I find that's consistent as we go through AI, the future work and learning, that the ability to be emotionally EQ, like have that high EQ and understand of your responses and how you respond to situations, and the ability to evolve and adapt is the key. And so I can see from attracting from an interview phase, but also internally, we do a lot of focus on resiliency and those soft skills.
Right.
So.